Hello, BookTube. I thought we'd do a very quick two-book mail haul instead of waiting for a large amount of books later in the day, just so that we can get our bearings, just so that we can see each other's faces and chat a little. It's a largely overcast, cold day here. There's snow on the ground that is untouched. It is still virginal because there's been not enough warmth to melt it. I think that's going to change in the next few days, but if you've looked at the weather recently for pretty much anywhere in the northern United States, you're seeing pretty active patterns. One big storm and then an even bigger storm, and strong potential for a third one after that. I don't know what to make of those blobs on the radar. I'm hoping that just for convenience sake, that a large amount of that energy moves south enough from New England so that Boston gets rain instead of snow. But I've got a couple of packages to open here. I've got books on the mind, of course. I've been reading all day. I've been thinking about books. I need to put out an all points bulletin. I know that rule number one on this channel is don't get me a book. I have enough books, but you can circumvent rule number one if you get me a book that I actually ask for, a book that I actually want. Now, this is a book that I have an ebook for. But I think it's on my horizon, so if you are in your secondhand shop and you're in the lower 48 and you see a copy, feel free to send me an email and give me the details. I might actually want it. And that book is The Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams. So if you're in your thrift shop and you see a Little Mass Market, fine. I could have sworn I had one. But I have looked and I have not found. I specifically segregated my science fiction and fantasy into one bookcase, specifically so that I wouldn't be able to find it if I went looking for it, and I absolutely cannot. So unless I got clever and put my copy, I had a mass market copy forever and ever. Unless I got clever and put that somewhere else, and now can't remember that I did that, I don't have a copy of this book. So don't buy anything ahead of time. Don't buy anything impulsively. But first of all, it's Michael Whelan artwork. There was a trade paperback reprint of The Dragonbone Chair and the next two books in the series with sort of a generic white background with a sword pommel on the cover. And I of course don't want those. I want the green Michael Whelan cover. Either the mass market paperback or the mass market paperback with the gatefold cover that had the wolf on the front cover, and then you open it and you see the two of the main characters in distress on the painting on the inside. Or I believe that it was also issued as a trade paperback without the step back, of course, but with the wraparound green artwork. Either one of those would be fine by me. I am not expecting you to splurge on the hardcover. Of course, the hardcover would be the best thing, but I haven't looked, but I imagine that a hardcover of the Dragonbone Chair is expensive. And I don't want you spending any kind of get engaged money on me, a little old me. So don't go out impulsively, but that is a book I want. So, and the Brattle Bookshop, my used bookstore here in Boston, they're not all that great with science fiction and fantasy. I don't think the people doing the selling actually even think of them when it comes to that. So it's only rarely that they will go out on a big buy that turns out to be a lot of science fiction and fantasy. So feel free to let me know what's out there. But otherwise, let's look at the mail that we have here. We have one envelope and one box. And the envelope is one of these big white things. So let's see what we have here. I am slowly, gradually, very haltingly in the process of massive cleaning here. Any of you who, a couple of you actually know me, and a couple of you have known me for a long time through this channel, you will know that is not conducive. I'm not a neat person. Cleaning is foreign to me. It's something I literally don't think about. So I can ask my surly houseboy to do some of it, but there's above and beyond cleaning that needs to be done, and I've been doing some of that, and the tedium is exhausting. I can't now imagine how 1,000 generations of Donahues and Leahys and Powers and Hickeys actually did manage to scrub people's floors all day long, all that time. I can't imagine how they did it. Let's see here. Right. The publicist contacted me about this, and I confess, at first I was a little nonplussed as to how you could have a book like this. This comes out in mid-March, and this is by Joyce Chaplin, and it is called The Franklin Stove, An Unintended American Revolution. This is actually about the stove that Benjamin Franklin invented. That's right. Let's see here. Taking a single object and a single and singular thinker in Benjamin Franklin as its starting point, this book opens into an exploration of how human beings first reckoned with a changing climate. From theories of volcanism to wider ideas about how to warm the planet, for example, chopping down trees to reduce the amount of shade, to early investigations of the jet stream, this book immerses its readers in the fascinating world of 18th century scientific exploration. The author here delivers a lively, personable, voice-driven work of history on Franklin's career as a scientist and inventor, one that follows him from Philadelphia to Paris to London and traces his correspondence with the leading thinkers of his time. An entirely new Benjamin Franklin emerges from her pages. A man of contradictions and flights of fancy who was deeply interested in the natural world. Franklin's stove, I wonder if we're going to get to that. Franklin's stove becomes one of the most famous consumer products of its time. And this book, this history of the stove and its unintended consequences, offers a cautionary tale for our own challenges with climate change. Okay, now, the bit about climate change and an evolving world and all of that, that one might make you squint because it's so suspiciously topical. But I have to keep in mind, that's the job of a book's publicist. It's entirely likely that the author takes a more sedate and less dated approach to the subject. That's entirely likely. And Franklin the Inventor, there was just a book about Franklin the Inventor just recently, I think last year. Franklin the Inventor is always interesting. I have a weird relationship with this guy, with this particular founding father, in that I seem always to review the new books about him. And I don't do that about every other founding father. I will probably review this one. It seems pretty interesting. A whole book, at least nominally, on the stove that Benjamin Franklin invented. And then we have the box, and then we'll be done. So I made a shrill demand for a book. A lot of you over the years have been pretty persistent. Are you sure there isn't anything I can get for you? Now, it's not as barren as that. A lot of you know perfectly well that you are welcome to give me a field report of your library book sale. Oh, you're welcome to do that. And I will make demands if you strike gold. But otherwise, I have books coming in the mail, and I have the Brattle Bookshop. I really do not need any of you, as kind as it is, I really do not need any of you to go book hunting for me. Unless I ask, in which case I need all of you to go book hunting for me. I need a copy of the Dragonbone Chair. Is there some science fiction and fantasy fan listening to the sound of my voice who has 2 copies? Perhaps? Do you maybe have a retail bookstore where you live? Well, I remember the days when Boston did. Boston, the home and the cradle of American literacy. But I guess we don't rate a retail bookstore. But do you? And if so, do they sell a new trade paperback with the Michael Whelan green cover of the Dragonbone Chair? Perhaps you could send that my way. But anyway, let's see what we have here. Oh, great. Oh, all right. This is something we've seen already. And all I got was an invoice for it, so I don't have the date. But this is a February release, I'm pretty sure. We saw this already, but now I get to show it to you, and that's good because it's very visual. This is by Roland Mayer, and it's called The Ruins of Rome, A Cultural History. I think we saw this already. This is about what people did with these gigantic, monolithic Age of Giants ruins that they found all around them long after the giants had gone, long after these things were a myth because the history hadn't been cemented. Let's see what we have here. This is from Cambridge University Press, so it's bound to be pricey, but it won't have a price on it. University Press books never do. It's bound to be pricey, and it's also bound not to be in your bookstore. You will have to order this. I wonder if the invoice tells me how much this would be for the lumpen proletariat. It won't be that from me, that's for bloody sure. I'm not paying. Okay, this says $40, which I think would be, in today's Hyperinflated market, that would probably be relatively fair. This is full of illustrations, as we'll see. And it's a rarefied subject, and it's a university press. I don't see them realistically charging less than that. Nobody reads. And of the tiny fraction of people who read, only a tiny fraction of that fraction reads history. So probably that is. And you know, as long as I'm digressing, I say in a few videos, I've said in a few videos, in 2021, I seem to have attracted a large number of new people to this channel. The old hands who've been listening to me drone on about books forever and ever aren't surprised by some of the things I say and know basically what I mean. A lot of the new people are not and have been bombarding me in my email with lots of questions. It's been very nice. I've been the belle of the ball. But a couple of people have taken issue with me saying nobody reads. By saying, well, you're a reader and I'm a reader, and all the people who watch your channel obviously are readers. And nevertheless, I am sticking to my claim. I am saying literally nobody reads, because how would we determine whether or not somebody reads? We would count. We would take a census. We would do a survey. How many people in the world, out of 10 billion people, read for pleasure, voluntarily read for pleasure? And the rhetorical gimmick that I'm using, that I just love, is that if that number, if the accurately arrived at number of people in the world who read for pleasure is less than the number of people who die every day, then mathematically, technically, that group doesn't exist. Statistically, it's zero. So that's why I say that. But anyway, let's see what we have here. The beguiling ruins of Rome have long history of allure. They first engaged the attention of later medieval tourists, just as they do today. Okay, not quite. The first people they engaged the interest of were not tourists. They were architects. Right? They were people who just wanted raw material and couldn't care less what the history of this thing was. It wouldn't have been a tourist for these things for all the tea in China. The interest of travelers was captured in Renaissance by artists, architects, topographers, antiquarians, archaeologists, and writers. Once the ruins were seen to appeal to visitors and to matter for their aesthetic quality, okay, that happened a long time later than you're saying, I think, unless you tell me otherwise, unless you teach me otherwise. Their protection and attractive presentation became imperative. Rome's ruins were the first to be the object of preservation orders, and novel measures were devised for their conservation in innovative archaeological parks. The city's remains provided models for souvenirs, paintings of them. As mentioned, cleaning is taking place, including an endless amount of laundry. It's pretty much the only kind of cleaning that I am allowed to do. It's pretty much the only kind of cleaning that is not physically exhausting. And there's an endless amount of it to be done. Sorry, the machine is complaining here. But where were we? Paintings of them decorated the walls of 18th century English country houses, and picturesque sham Roman ruins sprang up in landscape gardens across Europe. Writers responded in various ways to their emotional appeal. The author of this book, this attractive new history, will delight all those interested in the remarkable survival and preservation of a unique urban environment. And we have pictures of some of those paintings that show the ruins, and we have pictures of some of the country houses, and we also have pictures of some of the ruins and fake ruins that people built on their property. So this has that extra thick plasticky page quality because it's reproducing color and black and white photos and diagrams on every page. This is not an insert. There's not an art insert in the middle here. This is instead a lot. I've been told that there is a phenomenon with old washing machines called walking, where if they're counterweighted just right, they will wobble in such a way that they will walk across the floor. I'm hoping that's not happening. I will check on it as soon as I finish this video. So this is great. Here you have very old, that's what this author is clearly going to say, that this book is going to make the case that people were noting and caring about ancient ruins a lot earlier than I think they were. So who is the author? Oh my. Jeez. That's unusual in an age of rampant egotism. A one-sentence bio note. Emeritus Professor of Classics at King's College London. Okay. Okay. All right, great. All right, well, there you go. The Ruins of Rome. Any of you who are interested in Rome are probably going to want this book. I don't for the life of me know why this is the cover, as opposed to almost anything that would be more eye-catching. Just look at some of the color stuff. You can make a cover out of that would be a lot nicer than a washed-out reprint of a painting. But maybe it has significance with the narrative. So there you go. We have two pieces of nonfiction, both of which I think are February releases. We have The Franklin Stove. Oh, no, this isn't a February release. This is mid-March. Yeah, this is mid-March, about Benjamin Franklin's stove, but also other things, science probably, and Franklin connected with science. And The Ruins of Rome, which I don't have a sheet for this, but I'm pretty sure this is a February release. So that's great. Hardcover nonfiction. I can always stand hardcover nonfiction. So there you go. You have two books, a bunch of domestic details, and a mission. Find me a copy of the Dragonbone Chair. Don't bother finding me a copy of the Dragonbone Chair if you live too far away. You've got to be able to put it in the mail and send it to me. So no Alaska, no Hawaii, no other countries, just the lower 48. But if you have two copies, or if your retail bookstore has a trade paperback or whatnot, feel free to email me and let me know. Don't just send it. Email me and let me know, and we can work something out. Is there a bunch of stuff I can get for you at the Brattle? I think probably there is. Anyway, I'll wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.